So, we've just finished another box office weekend, and it doesn't look very good, at least if you're trying to claim that Marvel's returning to greatness. The Thunderbolts have performed a little higher than expected by falling off only about 55% domestically in theaters, bringing its grand total to $128 million domestic, $143 million international. And when you look at the overall total of $272 million, all of that looks great. Except when you start to realize that it needs to make several $100 million more, and there's not enough runway to do that. We'll take a quick look at the box office and basically revel in the disappointment that the people over at Disney are probably feeling right now. Here we go. Let's start first with some numbers. Thunderbolts, that's right. $272.1 million after this weekend, 55% fall off in the States, North America, I'll say. And the performance is headed in the wrong direction. When you take a look of the cone of expectation, once again, we are falling well below where we need to be. Well, I mean they need to do better, and they're just not capable of it right now. If you take a quick look at a few of the stories that we're going to be covering today, I think you'll be surprised the trade's actually realizing that this may not be a good start for a film or even a good second week hold, because it's not. You do want to see something north of 65% of a fall. 55% sounds pretty good. But when you look at what Variety has to say, a $33 million weekend is not a lot. And it's also staying in first place, which isn't good for any of the exhibitors out there. In fact, if you look at this very carefully, the overall weekend didn't perform well at all. Ticket sales declined 55% from its $74 million debut. In other words, it did not reach the high enough level to fall off this badly. Maybe just wasn't enough height to fall from. Marvel Adventures that slid significantly in their second weekends, such as February's Captain America Brave New World, was down 68% in its sophomore outing. 2023's Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumania, was down 70%, and the Marvels, well, they win with a whopping fall-off of 78%. Thor, Love and Blunder, 67% collapse. These are all bad signs, and it's a worse sign if your film didn't make all that much money before, which Variety finally gets around to admitting with this paragraph. Thunderbolts started safer than all of those tentpoles, except for the Marvels, which was a toilet brush at best. But solid reviews and positive word of mouth could help the movie stick around on the big screen, which is really its only hope. The problem is the competition is arriving as we get closer and closer to summer. And this film will be long forgotten by the time we get to Lilo and Stitch or Mission Impossible or every other competitor that's coming down the line. Worse yet, Variety's trying to stick to the idea that this film only cost $180 million. We know it's probably much more than that. Also, they spent over $100 million to market, of which they're basically saying they spent approximately that much. I have to tell you, when you look at the way films are being marketed these days, $100 million isn't going to cut it, especially not for Disney or a Marvel picture. The minimum here would probably be $140 million, but I grant them. This film cost $280 million, let's say. Well, it's not anywhere close to break even yet. It won't be there for a long, long time, because you need to take that $280 million and multiply it by a minimum of 2. That means in order for this to come close to even the, well, terribly inaccurate information here, $560 million isn't going to get you to profitability, even if it were to collect that much. And the chances of it at this point collecting $560 million are almost zero. And that's kind of been the fate for Disney and Disney Marvel specifically for a very long time now. Worse yet, Variety reports on what Iger said in his most recent earnings call, which does not hit very hard. If anything, it shows that it doesn't matter what Iger says. They've been continuing down the same road for a long time, not just doubling down, but tripling down on the not even above average quality that these new movies need to be, stating, "We've learned over time that quantity does not necessarily beget quality. And frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much." Well, you're definitely not making too much money. That would be a problem that any corporation would love to have, Mr. Iger. But I will say it very kindly. I have another video coming out later this week that's going to be talking all about the fact that Marvel knows, everybody knows at this point, that you have been making garbage for a very, very long time. And it's not just Marvel, it's across the board. I mean, look at the results from Snow White. It wasn't very well received, and it certainly didn't make any money that would have pretended to come close to what the budget of the film was. It made most likely negative $300 million at this point. And I know a lot of you are going to be saying, no, that's not possible. Oh, it's very possible. Snow White was reshot and reshot and reshot to the tune of, well, 3 London summers at minimum, according to Rachel Zegler herself, the poison apple of almost everything Disney experienced with that terrible disappointment. Suffice it to say, when you look at the overall film chart, despite the fact that Thunderbolts and Sinners are sitting towards the top, this is a short-lived victory, because as those films continue to decline in their weekend earnings, they're also declining in their weekday earnings. And again, Minecraft movies returned to third place because none of the other offerings rose to the occasion to perform against it. It's getting closer and closer to that $1 billion mark, which I think Minecraft will finish short of. One final note is this one, and maybe one of the most important ones here. If you take a look, there are only 24 offerings that are currently tracked on this list. That number may go up, hard to say. I know they re-released Snow White into theaters for some reason this last weekend, but right now, as of the time of recording, which is in the afternoon on the 11th, this return of $81 million is going to be devastating to exhibitors. And if this number doesn't rise, which it may, this will be a return to what we were experiencing back in January and February, with terrible weekend performance and a lackluster number that has a lot of exhibitors considering new adventures in how to sell the space in their theaters, which could include video games, conferences, etc., etc. Oh, and just further note on Snow White, despite the fact that they dropped it on 1,330 screens, it still only made $335,000. Why? I don't know. But I can tell you this much, that's not going to overcome their $300 million deficit. Like it or not, we are stuck in the same doldrums we were before with the same Marvel Disney slop that they've been providing for, well, the last 5 or 6 years now. In fact, I think the last good thing coming out of Disney may have been Endgame. And that's hard to even imagine because that already had all of the trends headed the wrong way as far as storytelling, and probably was maybe the last attempt at quality that we'd had from Disney Marvel for a long, long time. Anyway, that's my thoughts for today. What are yours? That's right, audience participation time. So let me know in the comments section below what you think of the performance in theaters for any of these movies, and most especially for Thunderbolts / The New Avengers / Another Money Loser. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.